What if the tools to stop avoidable harm in the NHS weren't missing at all, but were just sitting on a shelf, gathering dust? Today, we're diving into a powerful argument that Parliament actually already holds the key to fixing some of the biggest patient safety issues. The real question is, why isn't anyone turning it?
Okay, let's kick things off with a number that should honestly stop you in your tracks. 56%. That's how many NHS staff say they've come to work when they were too unwell to do their jobs safely. Now, this isn't just about feeling a bit under the weather. This is a massive red flag, showing the incredible pressure our clinical staff are under and the direct risk that pressure creates for patients day in and day out.
So, how on earth did we get here? And is there a way out? We're going to unpack all of it in 6 parts. We'll look at the system at its breaking point, listen to the warning signs coming from the workforce, and see how the system itself is actually designed to cause harm. Then, and this is the good part, we'll reveal the power that already exists to intervene, check out 2 real-world solutions, and end with the big one, the question of accountability.
Right, first things first, let's talk about the human cost of this crisis. And I don't just mean waiting lists. We're talking about the huge, draining pressure on the very people whose job it is to keep us safe. The doctors, the nurses, all the clinicians right there on the front line.
And this is where it all clicks into place. You see, on the one hand, you've got 41% of staff saying their job is making them sick from stress. And on the other, you have 40% of doctors who have personally seen patient safety get compromised. See, these aren't 2 separate problems. They are basically a mirror image of each other, proving that when the workforce is in distress, patient harm is right there with it. They're 2 sides of the very same coin.
But here's where we need to shift our thinking a little bit. All this staff distress, it's not just some sad side effect of a broken system. No, it's way more important than that. It's actually a flashing red warning light that patient harm is coming.
This idea of a leading indicator, it's absolutely key. Think of it like seeing a crack in a dam. You see that crack long before the flood comes crashing through. Well, it's the same idea here. Harm to the workforce, burnout, stress, people leaving. That is the crack that shows up before the flood of patient safety disasters. It predicts the problem. It isn't just a result of it.
And we're not talking about a slow, gentle decline here. This is like walking off a cliff. It's a vicious cycle that just gets faster and faster. One clinician leaves or gets sick, that means the pressure on everyone else just skyrockets. That leads to exhaustion, mistakes, and, you guessed it, more people burning out. The whole thing just spins faster and faster into a nosedive. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? The safety of the entire system is thrown off balance by losing just one clinician. You can't just spread their workload around and call it a day. When you do that, you're actually concentrating the risk, you're weakening decision-making, and you're creating these really dangerous gaps in care for patients.
So if our clinicians are the canary in the coal mine, then what's poisoning the air? Well, the argument we're exploring today is that the system is actually poisoning itself, using its very own performance targets and metrics.
Now, this is such an important insight. Things like waiting time targets and those hospital league tables, they aren't just neutral tools for measurement. They actively drive behavior, and the argument here is that they're pushing doctors and nurses to behave in ways that can be fundamentally unsafe. And here's the fundamental conflict right here. The system rewards things that are easy to count, how fast you can get patients through, how much activity you're doing. But chasing those numbers forces clinicians to cut corners on the things that actually keep patients safe. The careful, time-consuming work like reviewing medications, proper handovers, and planning for what happens next.
This whole situation forces clinicians into an impossible spot. It leads to something called moral injury. And that's the profound distress you feel when you're forced to go against your own professional, ethical judgment just to hit a target. This isn't just about feeling bad. It's a major reason why so many amazing, dedicated people are burning out and leaving the profession entirely.
Okay, so the problems seem pretty clear, and they look like they're baked right into the DNA of the system. You'd think we'd need some massive, complicated overhaul to fix it, right? Well, here comes the twist. The central argument we're looking at is that the power to fix this isn't missing. It's already there. The whole game changed back in 2022 with the Health and Care Act. Before that, you had all these accountability gaps and arguments over who was in charge, but this act closed those loopholes. It gave the government clear, direct, legal power to tell NHS England and other local bodies what to do on safety and performance. Let's be really, really clear about what this means.
The argument isn't that we need new laws or new policies. The argument is that the legal tools to step in and fix things already exist. The toolkit is right there. So the problem isn't a lack of power, it's a failure to actually use it.
So, if the power is there, how could you actually use it? Well, the analysis lays out two really concrete, practical solutions that don't need any new laws. They just need someone to use the authority Parliament already has.
Okay, solution number one takes aim at a deadly flaw in the system: fragmentation. Right now, patients can literally fall into dangerous gaps as they get moved between hospitals, their GP, and social care. And that's where medication mistakes happen, where critical information just gets lost in the shuffle.
So the fix is to create a national rulebook for patient transfers. It's called a Standardized Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU. And this wouldn't just be a friendly suggestion. It would use those existing legal powers to mandate exactly who is responsible at every single step, how to manage medications during handovers, and exactly what to do when something goes wrong. It's about making safety completely non-negotiable.
Now, the second solution goes right for the jugular. It attacks the root cause of that moral injury we talked about, those performance targets that accidentally reward unsafe care. It's about building in some guardrails to stop the chase for speed from coming at the cost of patient safety. It's a really simple but powerful idea called the discordant signal rule. Just think of it like a safety audit. A hospital can't just brag about how many patients it discharged. This rule would force them to also prove that this so-called efficiency isn't causing a big spike in readmissions or patient complaints. It makes sure that success is actually real and not just some dangerous illusion.
So we've seen the problem, we've seen the systemic causes, and we've seen two practical, achievable solutions that use laws that are already on the books. Which brings us to the final and frankly unavoidable question. And this is the stark question we're left with from the source material. If the legal tools to make patients and staff safer have been sitting in the government's hands since 2022, why are they still on the shelf? The analysis concludes that this is no longer a problem of not knowing what to do. It's a problem of political will and a deep, profound failure of accountability.